Good morning. Good morning. I welcome you again to share this next roughly an hour and a half with me as we muse about the question. We muse on the question. We chew on the question, who am I? Who am I? We try to face it fairly and honestly and authentically. Who am I? We ask it in reference to source energy. Who am I in reference to source energy? What is source energy and how does that relate to me? And how does my understanding of how source energy relates to me gonna get me and my people to a place where our everyday lives, the very routines that we are engaged in day to day, are not activities that kill the planet at the same time? Because that's what I'm noticing it's been. I've been here for quite a few years, and it seemed... I don't know what it seemed at first. I was going to say it seemed all right at first, but I'm not sure. I was born in the year 1960, and in 1962, Rachel Carson came out with her book, Silent Spring, pointing out that if we didn't knock it off with the DDT, we were going to wake up some spring with no sound of birdsong. They were going to be gone. So I read that book probably by the time I was 8. I probably read it when I was 8. I saw it laying around before that, but what's the point of that? I'm telling you that I noticed that my people were off from a very early age. And you know what? We haven't done anything sustainable since. As in, what we're doing now and how we're doing it is different than we were doing it 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 50 years ago. We're not doing anything we're not repeating ourselves. And the reason is because we haven't found a formula yet that works. And so we keep trying new things. So it's nothing wrong with us doing new stuff. It'd just be nice if we could land on something that we could keep doing next year too. That sounded a little kooky. If I sound a little scattered, perhaps I am. The question is, who am I? I do notice that I have what I think, and whoever's listening, they're going to know which one it is I have because they're it. I either have a fan, a single fan, or I have people are checking in on me. And there's multiple reasons. Either you're interested in what I'm doing or you love me and you're keeping a close eye on me with one finger on the speed dial to the people from the booby hatch. As I joked to my sister, I am documenting my descent into madness. I am attempting something that some people think is a little bit mad. I'm adding it all up. I'm adding it all up. What does it all add up to? What does the allness add up to? When I add every single thing, when I put every fact and factoid I have ever run across, true or not true, because a factoid that's not true, well, first of all, it's not a fact, but we can call it a factoid then. That's not true still is true about something. At the very least, it's true about the human imagination. Actually, I'm going to go check to see whether my door is closed. My door was indeed closed. It's a little bit later than usual. I slept in a bit this morning. I didn't get up till almost 5 o'clock. I can hear some very What would the adjective be? She's hearty, at least. A hearty robin out there, singing her heart out, greeting the dawn. So the question of the day is, the question of every day is, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? I wonder who you are, my fan. Are you a beloved relative? You're very important to me because it's really important. There's something really important to my consciousness that I am speaking to someone. Although, like I have said before, and I maintain this, however this lands upon your ears is your business and not mine. My business is to follow the impulses, the true impulses, coming from my heart to act. Coming from an alignment of my two minds, I would hope. Now, I suppose one of the things I've been trying to do is to get my conscious mind out of the way. It really is a problem to us as human beings. It is not the boon that we think that it is. If we could get our conscious minds just a little bit to get out of the way and let our pure impulses coming from our broader perspective to, be what calls us to action, then we would blend with the rest of the atmosphere way, way better. Blend with the rest of the environment, all that surrounds you. I think that's why the word whatever that word was came out. Atmosphere instead of environment. So who am I? Who am I? I say this every day. If you're a fan, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a fan, you might be wondering, I don't know, do I say different things every day? Because I sort of click out of my ordinary self when I hit a good stride. I'm not quite there yet. I'm sort of in between. I'm still in that frame of mind where I'm not really sure why I'm here. Then I hit my stride and I start talking about stuff I don't even know what I talk about. And I certainly never go back and listen to it. Because, that would kind of spoil it for me. I don't want to be overly self-conscious about this. So what is my thesis? My thesis is, I believe that all of the suffering of all of mankind comes from us not knowing who we are. And I think that there are things that we can know about who we are. We certainly can add up what all of the wise people through ages and now, and there's a lot of people saying stuff now. You could just add up what the now people are saying. But there's lots of ancient masters too. Everybody from Jesus or Rumi or Khalil Gibran or there's all kinds of wise people who have lived and had their say. And they're all looking at one thing. Oh my God, I can see what it is they're talking about. It's all the same thing, just from different angles. And I get that. I can see that. Oh, that's how come you can start building a frame. So, who am I and how does this work? What am I doing here? How did I get here? Where are we going? Are we going to make it or are we going to commit suicide on the road? How do I live my life? What is the meaning of success? What is success? What would success look like to me? What would it feel like? Why does it even matter? Speaking of matter, how does matter come into being? What is the true nature of reality? what is the common physical or empirical, objective reality? Is there such a thing? Or is it all subjective? All subjective, and then there's one more frame, which is where you add up every single one of the subjectives into a larger frame. You upload all the subjectives into a larger frame. It isn't exactly objective. It's still all subjective, but it's all of them. And now that looks like something. Is that what it is? I don't know. That's the question, isn't it? And I postulate in my little show a number of... I do believe we were genetically modified. And I think that that matters because I think it's making us less adaptable in a way. I mean, we can adapt. We could adapt. As a matter of fact, mankind is incredibly adaptable. But consciously, we're having a hard time adapting. I think that I and others are onto something, though. This idea of consciously creating. The problem is that most people aren't going to do it. Most people are going to go to the default. They're going to go to the default of how their equipment works. And unfortunately, the default on the human being vehicle seems to be buying into the reality of the conditionality and not... I mean, there is a kind of reality to the conditionality. I'm not going to completely talk you out of conditionality, but the negative mind is the problematic one. Because when you start to follow and believe the negative mind, your impulses to act are bass-ackwards. They're off. They are out of alignment now. You're not getting a pure, clear impulse to act. I mean, it's coming through something in your physical mind that's translating it funny. And then your impulses are... they're out of sync. They're out of step with the rest of the pool, with the rest of the field, with the rest of the needs of all of the beings around us, the rest of reality that surrounds us. You're out of alignment with it. You're out of alignment with its needs. So what are we going to do about that? Well, what I've been doing in my own mind, in my own life, I've been trying to ponder a better understanding of myself so that when my negative mind comes up, I don't buy into it. I recognize that that's not really me. That is a mistranslation through my physical conscious mind. I've taken a thought that does not resonate with my greater self. And for that reason alone, I know that it is not a thought I want to pursue. I know that my inner being will not be there to light my way. I know that it will not feel good, and while it may appear to reflect some sort of reality, I go, but it's true, it feels bad, but it's true. As a matter of fact, it probably feels bad because it is true. And I know now that that is not the way the universe is set up. It's set up way more in my favor than that. In actual fact, the universe is... the entire mechanism of the universe, in a way, is set up to reflect back to me whatever it is that I feel is true about myself or the rest of the world. It will reflect back whatever it is I'm thinking, whatever it is I'm feeling. Now, whether that is in alignment with the rest of the field or not in alignment with the rest of the field remains to be seen. It will be seen. It will play out. You can always tell how you're doing vibrationally by two things. There's two ways that you can tell how well you are doing vibrationally. And what do I mean by that? How well are you resonating with your higher self? There's two ways you can tell. One is In general, what's manifesting around you? Do you like it or do you not like it? Is it, I mean, it might be not entirely pleasing, but is the way it's rolling and the way you're handling it, is that pleasing to you? You're proving to yourself how capable you are, or, you know, your ability to organize, your ability to function remains very high, you know? So even if it's challenging, it's still satisfying in a way. Is that what's happening? Or are you overwhelmed? Are you having a rough ride? Are things right and left slapping you in the face in ways that you're not prepared for? What's happening? So how is it manifesting around you? And the second one is, how do you feel? Do you feel good? Whatever's manifesting around you, do you feel good? That's the highest. That's determining how you're doing vibrationally right now. How you're doing in general will be reflected by how your world around you is manifesting, you know, in general. Are things going in general okay? You paying your bills? Are you, you know, filling your fridge? Are you understanding your surroundings? Do you have purpose to your life? Do you understand what's going on around you? You know, both in a small way and a big way. You know, what are people talking about in your immediate surroundings, and what's going on in general with your people, with your world, with your systems. Are they working? I actually don't think human being systems are working very well. And the reason is that they are running on a paradigm of energy shortage. And we're at the point, we are ready. We are ready. We need energy abundance. We need energy independence. And I don't mean energy independence of the United States government against all the rest of the world. I mean energy independence of John Q. Public. All of us having the ability to just take our little packet of energy and go off into the fields and start making our own our own private Idaho, if you will. Now, I know that sounds scary, but with the internet, we are still connected. Now, I do believe that we're going to have some real problems with this until we collectively, more generally, more benignly, more matter-of-factly, more peacefully and in alignmently do we understand who we are, so that we don't have monstrous cults coming out of the woodwork started by people who were raised in a paradigm of superstitious nonsense, who then stumble across universal consciousness and imagine that they are the only ones there. What does that make them? God or something, or the prophet of God, the right hand of God, the instrument of God, or whatever these people. And then depending on what sort of angry or violent trauma they might have experienced, because we are passing our generational trauma along to one another. And even if you were not raised unkindly, you almost certainly were raised by people with some sort of generational trauma involved, because they either fought the great wars, or they were the children of those who fought the great wars, or we are all children of people who are creating a paradigm of scarcity that is not in alignment with the rest of the field. And that in itself is implying that there's something out of alignment with us, because if we were fully in alignment, then all the things that we did would be harmonious and sustainable. Because that's what source energy is guiding us to. And how is it doing it? Wow. It's doing it through all of us. We are all important to this equation, by the way. We are not dust in the wind. In a way, I mean, if you look at it from the outside and you speculate and ponder the great numbers, you know, how big it all is, the distances and the mass and it's just so spectacular. Oh, it is. My computer did something, but it does not look like it stopped my recording. So pardon me for pausing there for a minute, but I thought my whole computer had just rebooted or something. Anyway, so who am I, you ask yourself? We are human beings. We're living here in the 21st century. I'll tell you right now, there's different schools of thought. Some people believe that technology is going to save us, and other people believe that God is going to save us. And it actually is going to be a combination of the two, us linking up with our allness and using every tool at hand is going to save us. It absolutely is, or it absolutely could. And it is my personal intention to plug my frequency into the version of Earth that makes it. And so I feel like, if I'm going to do that, I probably need to plug into the mindset of what would a human being think like if they were going to plug into the frequency of the Earth that makes it to the other side of her problems? Her problems right now being largely caused by human beings. Now the good news is the power of life to regenerate itself is so spectacular that as soon as we stop actively throttling Mother Gaia, she will, unruffle her feathers. She'll shake out her feathers and then settle into being beautiful and abundant again for all of us. And all of human beings are going to be able to thrive on planet Earth and all of the rest of the beings. There is no shortage. There is no lack. There is no lack of potential or possibility or capability or anything. But we just have to get our systems, our whole systems, in alignment with our whole selves. And with all of the rest of the field around us, it really isn't that hard. We have to tap into our higher perspectives, which is vibrational, by the way. And the vibration that your higher self feels is satisfied, content, eager, interested, even joyful, passionate, whatever. You bring to the table the capability. This is why human beings are so cool. Oh man, I'm seeing it right now. I'm getting a big mouthful of it right now. I'm sensing why human beings are so cool and why it is that somebody invented us. Because there's something that we can do that's really interesting. Now, source energy is magnificent and spectacular, but without the right vehicle to drive within source, it's not as cool. I mean, it's cool, but it's not as. You need the overview. You need the ability to appreciate it. You need the ability to see how cool it is and to understand how cool it is from both sides of the equation, from the intellectual side and from the vibrational side. Our emotions are spectacular. And it is the human being that brings the passion to the equation. And when you think thoughts that resonate with the kinds of broad-based, broader perspective, higher overview mind, the mind of the greater being that is acting here too. When you, as a human being, bring the two of those into the same place and appreciate it, life gets really cool. Life gets really cool. So we are vibrational beings. We are living in a vibrational universe. And the material world around you, while I'm air quoting the word real in a sense, the reality of it is quite relative and subjective. And however, there is I believe that there are some matter-of-fact realities on the ground that we can agree on going forward. Now, this is not usually what is spoken about in relationship to this subject, the subject being source energy. I think that this subject is going to save us because it's going to bring us into alignment with our true nature and the clear impulses of source, so that we can take clear impulses from the greater allness trying to organize us. And how is it trying to organize us? It's trying to organize us in win-win positions and loving, life-affirming, soul-sustaining ways. It's trying to do that. But the human ability to shut off our recognition of the impulses of source, or our ability to shut down the connection, our ability to unplug from source, is pretty spectacular. So whoever invented us, whoever created this model of physical machine, has, we are both powerfully blessed and amazing and wonderful and really cool. And on the other hand, we're really destructive beasts because of our ability to unplug from source and go tootle our own way under the steam power of our conscious minds. Our conscious minds are not the highest unless you plug that conscious mind into the vibrational resonance of your source. And then actually your broader perspective mind, your conscious mind, can get pretty wise indeed. But she needs to bow to source as the source of the wisdom and not her own physical self. She needs to not get too full of herself and think that she's leading the way. It's only her wisdom, your own wisdom. The her I'm talking about is your conscious mind, so it's your physical mind. Your ego mind is right now the her. I suppose it would be her with a small h as opposed to her with the capital H. That's your broader perspective mind. Your smaller physical mind can be brilliant and can line up with what your broader perspective, your source self knows, your capital H self knows. And when she does that, she's brilliant. And when she thinks she's running the show and she thinks all the ideas are hers and that she's generating them with her physical mind and her own physical brain, when she thinks that's the setup, then she's not so clever. The fact is your imagination and all of your thoughts, you're getting them, especially your good ones, are coming as downloads from your broader perspective. Your thoughts that are less brilliant, those you might be cooking up in your physical brain. Those are the ones you want to watch out for. So who am I, and what I am a little scattered today. Today, 34 years ago, on this very blessed and highly momentous day, boy, I was deep into the matrix, living reality. 34 years ago, I gave birth to twins. I love them so much. They are the heartbeat of my physical life, along with my best friend, my husband. Those three are the core of my existence, actually. And then they spread out from there. There's grandchild, and then more grandchildren, and siblings. I love you all. I love you all. I love you all. So who am I? Who am I? That's a good question. Who am I? Who am I really? Well, A Course in Miracles tells us that only the love is real. So that's who I really am. Now, there's other questions you could ask. Who am I being? Who am I being? Who am I in my physicality? So you might define yourself as, I am all of the beings that ever inhabit the body that I call, fill in the name. Or you could define yourself as, I am the love, whatever body I am inhabiting. I like that one, actually. Who am I right now in this physical body? This particular physical body calls herself an American. We're getting ready to have an election, as a matter of fact. We have a primary coming up. I ought to look at the ballot because I will be voting. Whatever happens, I know that there is it's important that we vote, but I don't actually believe that the empire as she stands is going to last. I think one of the reasons she looks the way she does is because we're operating in a paradigm of energy scarcity, and we really have to get past this. We've got to get over this. What we should be doing, I'll tell you what we should be doing. Right now in America, we should be calling for every young mind, every genius mind, every thinking mind to put their noodle onto this. All of our young technicians, our young engineers and physicists should be looking this direction. Free us from fossil fuels. It should be a national effort, the same way it was when we pushed to get to the moon. Although that wasn't so much a national, it was our will and spirit egging on the one agency, basically, that was in charge of doing it. And the stupid thing about all of that, that's probably all smoke and mirrors, showing us, it's this show on the one side, and it looks so real, but the deep, deep, deep black ops of the same government already does not need to thrust, fossil fuel burning, or any kind of combustion fuel burning engines thrusting phallic symbols through the atmosphere into outer space, going piteous distances compared to the actual distances of space, the light years involved in space travel. And we can't travel at the speed of light. And even if we could, some places would be 100 years away. So what's the answer? The answer is we got to understand the equation a little bit differently. First of all, gravity has been conquered. You could ask me how I know this. I feel that it's true. They imply it in the movie The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. And what they are saying in that movie resonates very strongly with me. I believe it to be true. I believe that this is actually what's wrong with humanity. We were not allowed to incrementally move away from the energy source of fossil fuels because our consciousness wasn't there. That's how come we were foolable. That's how come we were guidable. That's how come we are sheeple. Our consciousness was not there. And it took a while to get our consciousness there. It's taken a lot of things, a lot of history, a lot of recorded history, a lot of now not just recorded history, but expressed history. All of the period pieces and different ways of looking at things, and a century of human beings. See, think about this. We don't think about this kind of thing too often, but before the Civil War, there was not even photographic record of historical events. So no war had ever been documented photographically and then so that it was so you could show it to the next generation. And so after every generation that had fought wars and then the soldiers would die off, now nobody was alive who knew the horror of war. No, we didn't understand these things. Consciousness wasn't holding on to it and sharing it and expressing it and agreeing on it and building on it. None of that had started happening. With Matthew Brady and the American Civil War, at least from the direction of my people, it's possible that Russian history shows some other, photographic, some shutterbug, who started documenting the Crimean War or, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all the same history playing out from different angles. So before that, people didn't know. And then it even got more spectacular through the war movies we started making. Before we started making movies, before we started being able to express these movies and watch more and more of them, and television and radio and all these different ways to amplify our consciousness, we only had one track, one conscious track, one storyline, and it was our own. We didn't have the ability to layer on 1,000 other stories, We told stories orally. We started to read them at one point in history, and that's how come, Gutenberg and the printing process, and why that was important too. Because it's all amplifying our consciousness, our ability to layer over and get and understand what it is we're looking at. Who are we? What is this medium we're swimming in? What are we supposed to be doing with it? What's the point of it all? Where did we come from? Where are we going? How do we get there successfully? What the hell is happening historically and current events-wise right now? And I don't mean what Kardashian said what to whom or, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about historically speaking, with the great gears and grindings of history and nations and war and energy and all that kind of stuff. What's happening right now? Well, what's happening is our whole civilization has been co-opted by the fossil fuel industry, which is now in bed with the pharmaceutical industry, which is in bed with the military-industrial complex, which is in bed with big ag, which is in bed with the major financial institutions. And the whole thing is creating a paradigm. It's a made-up thing. And everybody can go, yeah, sure, but what are you going to do about it? Actually, a whole lot of it is good. A whole lot of it is unavoidable, too. And on the track, there's a lot of it that's in alignment. What we need to do right now with it is reintroduce abundance back into the equation. And I think that we can do that easily and smoothly if we would recognize exactly where the problem is. And I think the problem is right here. It's how come I always come in to this studio every morning and have this little chat with myself, because I am convinced that this is where the problem is, and that's why I never change the subject. Who am I? And in reference to source energy. For two reasons. First of all, I need to understand my own psychology so that I quit making war upon my neighbor. In my aggrievement or my outrage or my, ignorance or whatever, I don't make war upon my neighbor. I make peace and I understand. I promote understanding and coherence and alignment. That's the first one. And then the second one is literally finding another source of energy to plug our formidable technologies into. Now, as soon as we do that, there will be no scarcity of resources. The scarcity of resources is being caused by the International Monetary Fund and the international petrodollar system that is forcing every village, every island, every nation, every ecosystem to capitalize, to munch its resources into commodities and put them up on the supply chain market in order to claim some piece of the supply chain, some goods or technology or food supplies or whatever. We're all being forced to do this. And we would have a much easier time doing this if, the source of the energy is causing the scarcity. It's baked into the cake. You don't even start with any money before you have to pay back more of it than you borrowed. And so you have to do something to appreciate that money. You have to make it into more because you already owe more than was created when they lent it to you in the first place. The scarcity is baked into the cake. And the thing is if we would switch this alignment in our minds, there is actually there's no scarcity. It's all abundance. Well, when I look around in my physical reality, that's not what I see. And so, how does that jive? And what do I do about that? Let's take a time hack. It is 43 minutes and 40 seconds in. Who am I? Who am I? And where am I going with this today? I'm going to need to inject some fresh energy into this at some point. If you're my one faithful listener, you probably know what I'm talking about. Although the subject is big enough, it's just my own capability of holding to this same topic and finding new, fresh ways to illuminate the background so that I have more places to go in my thought. What you're witnessing me doing is I am building neural pathways within my own brain so that I can continue to discuss this same topic for longer than 5 minutes. Because nobody has very much neural pathways in this area. That's why we're so lost. That's why we're so lost. We're so fixated on the physical reality that we have that we have a hard time thinking about a better one that we should have instead of the one we've got. We've been sold a bill of goods for the last 100 years, and it is high time that we do something about it. We must do something about it. We must start doing something about it now, because we really have to be breaking free soon. 10 years, 15 years, if we're not off of this shit 15 years from now, and if we are as lost and as not talking about, I think that's how come there's some geopolitical things that are hot right now. The election in the United States coming up is, I can only imagine what on earth is the world thinking. We are a nation of over 300 million people, and this is what we're putting up as our president. The problem with the United States is that we have tremendous power to draw together enormous collective will. And we're calling that our income taxes. That's our collective will. That's us pooling our resources and then committing that's the word that's coming to my mind, and that's why I'm not saying it, because it's not exactly what I mean to say. Implementing collective projects. Now, depending on what those projects are, I almost don't agree with them anymore. What could those projects be? I don't want us to do infrastructure anymore. I used to want us to do infrastructure because I looked at the paradigm that we had, and I thought that we needed to make it better. We need to slather more better asphalt and concrete on our crumbling bridges and roads and airports. We need to put trillions of dollars in. We're way behind. We need to put $10 trillion, put all Americans into work, put them back to work. We can, but we don't need to be doing that. We actually don't want to be doing that. And the reason we don't want to be doing that is until we get into alignment with our greater selves, the systems that we will be creating are going to be out of alignment with the rest of the natural field, the biofield. We don't need to be building airports in the way that we're building airports. We need to put the infrastructure into R&D, into better and better and better energy sources and gravity control. We shouldn't be building we shouldn't be building the planes and the automobiles and the trains that we're doing. Planes, trains, and automobiles. We shouldn't be doing that. It's all ancient, passé technology. It's so I'm not saying anything. If you're my regular listener, I haven't said anything new to you yet. That's a challenge. What can I say new to you? I would like to bring this subject of the esoteric into the physical reality. I would like us on the ground to start a revolution. And this revolution needs to be based on a different energy paradigm. First of all, you got to believe that a different energy way is possible. If you don't believe it's possible, you'll never look for it. And for quite a long time, they got away with convincing us that it's not possible. And then you think, well, heck, if all of those brainiacs out there, if they don't think, if all of our geniuses and all of our collective will is not working on an alternative because they don't believe it's possible, then it must not be possible. And who am I, Jane Q. Public, to disagree? Who am I to disagree? Well, as a matter of fact, it turns out that if you believe Abraham, and I do believe Abraham. My conscious mind has inputted Abraham's work. And when I output the information on the other side of that belief, I find it very, very interesting. Now, what does Abraham tell me? We are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and the steps of creation go like this. Step 1, life causes me to ask. Step 2, source answers me. Step 3, I've got to get into the receiving mode so that I can receive that answer, so that I can recognize the answer when I get it. I've got to allow the answer I have got to allow well-being to happen. I have got to take yes for an answer, basically. How do you do that when you're all gobbed up in no? How do you shift so that you are now in positive expectation of an answer to your question, to your cry, to your ask for more? You asked and Source answered. Now how do you find the answer? Source answered it with a vibration. You got to go find the vibration of the answer, and then all of the impulses of all the good ideas, all of the impulses to act will lead you in the direction down the path of finding the answer to your cry for more. So let's assume that's true. Step 1, 2, 3. Step 1, I ask. Step 2, source answers. Step 3, I got to find the vibrational frequency of the answer, and then source will download all the good ideas and impulses to act that I need. If that's true, humanity has asked for peace, has asked for a better energy source. One exists. The possibility exists. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. It is not possible for it not to be possible. It is not possible for it not to be possible that there is an alternate source of energy for us. And so, as it turns out, we have incrementally all along, the scattered geniuses amongst us all along have been finding those answers, those ways to convert our engines into capable of running on water. Wouldn't that have been a game changer? You don't have to schlep billions or millions of gallons of toxic, noxious, poisonous oil and gas around heaving seas in vulnerable oil carriers. We don't have to pipe it across sacred aquifers down to refineries in order to put it on those oil carriers to send it across heaving seas. We don't have to do that. We do not have to do that. Life has caused us to ask. Let's have some faith in the vibrational processes here. Have faith that there is an answer. This is where the God people come in. This is where the religious people come in. And they would be great if only they had not been taught a lot of superstitious nonsense, because their instincts about a higher meaning and about a higher wisdom and about a higher connection is correct. But they've got it tangled up with a lot of religious hokey pokey nonsense that they were. And the funny thing is almost every one of us gets a different cosmological version of that superstitious nonsense. So my favorite quotes come from, I got a pair of quotes, and actually I should put it up on, I should take a picture of it. It's not maybe I could make it look darker and then take a picture of it. I don't know. It's my two favorite quotes from, one is from Albert Einstein and the other one is from Baha'u'llah, and I do not know if that's how you pronounce his name. Baha'u'llah. I don't know how you pronounce his name. He's the guy who founded the Baha'i faith. And the two quotes are, the first one is Einstein's. He says, though science can only ascertain what is, but not what should be. Though religion may determine the goal, it nevertheless learns from science, in the broadest sense, what means will contribute to the goal's attainment. Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. I love that one. I love that one. And basically, you're seeing the two selves reflected in that quote. Religion being source mind, science being the physical mind. And with that, I'm going to make my first change of scenery to the aperture picture. That's the two minds. Religion is source mind and science is physical mind. And the fact of the matter is you have to align these two. You can't subtract one of them and only look at the other one and expect to have the right answer. You have a misaligned, you have to bring these two concepts back together. So what's the other quote? For science and religion are as the two wings of a bird, and the bird is mankind, which cannot fly on one wing alone. For the wing of science, unguided by the insights of religion, no, that's not exactly what it is. Let me see. I got it. Here. For the wing of science, if it lacks the insight of religion to balance it, leads to materialism. And the wing of religion, unguided by the reasonableness of science, leads to superstition. And there it is again. It's the two minds. The two minds are the two wings. The wings of a bird, and the bird is mankind, which cannot fly on one wing alone. So true. The wing of religion without science leads to... The wing of science without religion leads to materialism, and the wing of religion without science leads to superstition. So you gotta have them both. You gotta have the reasonableness. You gotta know what reality actually is first. Then line up your two minds with it. So, I feel like every day I sort of say the same thing. I think my original idea on this was that I was going to practice and practice and practice until I could start at the beginning of this presentation and just run right through and hit every one of my points. My point, the two-pronged reason why I do this work at all is because I see this perspective. I feel it very strongly that this is the nut that we are missing. That this is the one little teeny tiny bit that if we could agree on this, everyone could just go forth and do their own thing from that point on. Trusting in their own equipment, run your own, understand how to align your own self. Get your twin carburetors, in alignment with one another, and then off you go. Live your life, be in this world, and rejoice. And so I'm just staying right here in this really obvious place, in a way, going, yeah, okay, I understand the universe is very, very complex. It really, really is. But our problem is very simple. We are not in alignment. And the alignment that we are not in is very physical and very practical and very literal. We have two minds. And these two minds, one is running and operating and thinking about your immediate physical specific self. It's your specific mind, the one you're familiar with. But you have another mind. And this other mind that you have is relentlessly, doggedly positive. And until you come to grips with that, you're not going to understand your own emotions. You think your negative emotions are about negative emotions. Your negative emotions are actually about your positive self. You've taken a thought that doesn't resonate with your positive self. And your positive self is never going to quit being positive. And it's going to never quit being you. And it's going to never quit being love. And it's never going to quit being connected to all things. And you need to get on board with that, or you will be plagued with negative emotion for the rest of your life. For the rest of existence. You've got to start thinking higher thoughts. The lower thoughts that you are thinking are producing these unpleasant sensations within you. You think that that it is unavoidable because, after all, conditions are what they are. I'm only reacting to conditions. You're actually not reacting to conditions. You are reacting to the thoughts that you are taking about those conditions. And the thoughts that you're taking about those conditions, your inner being is disagreeing with. That's why you feel bad. Quit taking your negative emotions so freaking personally. Quit taking them so literally. Quit taking them so seriously. Only the love is real, and only the love is you. So the rest of it is not you and is not real, so quit letting those beings drive your car. They're not real. So that's kind of a new thing, I bet, but not really all that new. When you are out of alignment, when your two selves are out of alignment and you are in the throes of negative emotion, my advice as a physical teacher here on planet Earth, my advice is do not act. Sit on your hands. Feel those feelings. Think those thoughts. But until you've transmuted it, until you have found yourself again, found who you really are and connected back to your source, don't act. Don't act. The thoughts that you're getting, the information you're getting, it's all good, it's all real, it's all important. You are getting a reflection of something in the field that is not in alignment, and it is fair for you not to respond positively to it. It's fair. But it is also not you. So wait until you find yourself. And when you found yourself, now release your hands and get back to acting. The negative one is not you. How do I know that? I just know it. All of humanity's great masters, the great teachers, the great channelings, all of the wisdom tells us the same thing, that there is a trap present in the perception of the material world. And it has to do with the negative mind. So anyway, where are we? Where can we go today that's interesting, that's not so everywhere I've always been, but still in reference to the same thing? If you, my one listener, I want to take advantage of your presence, and you inspire me. What can I say different? What can I say different? Do I have to say anything different? It's so important. This is our emotional guidance scale. This scale is in reference to your two minds. If they're blending well, you're in positive emotion. If they're not blending well, you're in negative emotion. And what can you do about that? There's only one thing to do. Your physical mind is taking a physical thought that is not blending with what your source mind knows. Well, your source mind, I don't know how to get my source mind to take a different thought, and I don't even know if I would want to. You think you'd want to. Esther plays with that when she says, Abraham, can you quit just being so positive for a minute and come over here and join me in my negative so that I don't feel so bad? So that I feel resonance with this? Every time I notice how ornery my fellow human beings are being, I get this hit of negative emotion. I think it's because it's real. And the truth is, it's because you're resonating a completely different vibration. The thoughts you're thinking about this are different. They're more elevated. They have a different vibrational frequency. And the difference between these two frequencies is so high, it's making me feel uncomfortable. And I can describe, it feels like I'm zapping myself in the solar plexus with a cattle prod. But all I'm doing is taking a negative thought. I'm taking a negative thought in a field where my source mind is always taking positive thoughts. So I have one of two choices. I can start taking positive thoughts, or there's another choice, I can quit thinking. And I can just start feeling, and I could start feeling my way to the right answer. I could. So who am I as a human being? I've sort of been talking down on human beings because of their default setting. It's too easy to turn negative. Any kind of trauma to the human psyche causes the default setting of that being to go to the negative. And then you believe the negative mind and you start... you've lost track of what's real. Let's go right to the 5 kleshas with that. This is considered to be the root causes of all suffering to the Buddhist philosophy. It's basically not knowing what is real, not lining up with reality, instead lining up with this false reality. Well, what does that mean? To me, it means not understanding your binary self, not understanding that you literally are a system of boots and eyes on the ground, physically working on the grid, experiencing actual physical experience. That's your physical mind aspect of yourself. But you have a broader perspective. Most people don't know this. If they do know it, they're likely misinterpreting it. They're attributing it to something other than themselves. They might be calling it God. They might be thinking that it's asserting influence from outside instead of recognizing that these vibrations are actually coming from within you. Who am I? Who am I? Well, if you're a listener of my show, you might be thinking that this particular host is starting to crack up. I'm not cracking up. What it is the show needs... I need a guest I need one. I need more experience to my life too, because I am a minimalist to my life. I only want to do what's absolutely necessary to keep the machinery of my existence humming perfectly. So it's like I am the house, and I am the yard, and I impulse off of it, and I take care of it, and I water what needs to be watered, and I feed what needs to be fed, and I clean what needs to be cleaned, and I organize what needs to be organized, and I move through the systems of my home, the water, the air, the gas, the energy, the irrigation, because I live on an irrigated piece of property down in an agricultural zone. So there's a lot more to my place. I've planted fruit trees, and there's living beings that come back every year. The lizards, the roadrunners, the owls, and the hawks, and the robins, and the squirrels, and the finches, and all of these beings and the land, and I tick and I flow, and that's who I am. And I have kind of slowed down almost everything else. I don't really want anything else. I understand where my systems are not sustainable. It's where I plug into the supply chain of humanity. That's where I feel the discord. I feel the spirit is, I never saw the movie, the book, the Lorax, the Dr. Seuss book, where the Lorax objects because he sees the mindless nature of the beings around them munching their environment up into commodities and then selling them without any sense of their reality, without any sense of the part that they played before they were munched into before the truffula trees were turned into thneeds. And these thneeds are so useful, you can do anything with them. Oh, who wouldn't want? Oh. Anyway, that's what I see. But what I think is happening, I think it's happening because everyone is turning their environment into commodities in order to pay for a scarcity of energy where no such scarcity exists. There is energy to run worlds and worlds and worlds. And the only reason that we are plugged into fossil fuels, it's an artificial construct. Those who own the rights to the fossil fuels have nothing if we leave them in the ground. And then why do they get the billion-dollar yachts and not somebody else? Why do we even have billion-dollar yachts if we don't have that kind of concentrated power and energy? If we don't have that kind of centralized power structure, which, by the way, is causing our... I know that some people think that the answer to our problems is we've got to study all the issues. We've got to bring ourselves up to speed with all of the facts. We need to have ascertained on the ground who's telling the truth and who is lying to us and what the truth is, and then sort out who is running for what office and from what party and what they've said they're going to do in the future, and line that all up with what should be done in the future, and then that's who I'll vote for, and then that's how the political world is going to turn out okay. Fat chance. The fact is even if I do that impossible task, I'm going to be in the minority because nobody else is going to be doing that because that's too damn hard. And you can't sort it out anyway. So what is the answer? We've got to know who we are. We need to understand who we are as powerful creators, who we are as vibrational beings, who we are as human beings, who we are as HBVs, who we are as the two wings of a bird, and the bird is mankind which cannot fly on one wing alone. We've got to understand these two sides of ourself. the wing of our source and this spin, this cosmic spin of the quantum field, this primordial spin that we come out of. I believe that the organizing force that is organizing us, that actually turns out to be this beneficent win-win, nothing but love position, is actually nothing but the primordial spin, the singularity that we all come out of. We are all one. We are all one spin. And when you go back, if you were sitting in meditation, it would be the equivalent of going deeper within, to the center of the center of the center of your center, until you hit the final one, the one that links you with the rest of the field. Now, actually, it's all morphogenetic fields. And as you link with these greater, as you go deeper into the center of your center of your center, you link up with greater morphogenetic fields. And actually, I have a quote about that. This one, I quoted Nassim Haramein verbatim because I thought it was really clear and beautiful the way he said it. But you can imagine as you are clicking into deeper centers of your center, you are clicking into larger and larger morphogenetic fields of data and information flow, because that's what the universe is. It is data and information flowing across the scales, from minuscule to gargantuan. So this is the quote. When you integrate yourself as a biological being, when you integrate yourself, you become a whole, and your whole person, you integrate yourself as a biological being. So the quote is, when you integrate yourself as a biological being, you connect with the morphogenetic field of the planet. When you integrate yourself at the atomic level, you connect with the solar system. At the level of the proton, you integrate with the galaxy. And when you get all the way down to the Planck, you integrate with the universe. And so in your meditation practices, as you get into alignment with these greater fields of information of yourself, you start clicking in and becoming in alignment with these greater fields of information. And you start seeing how out of alignment humanity is. And if you become too fixated on the specific material reality that we have on the ground, the actual state of the fluxing manifestation in this moment, if you're too fixated on what we've got, especially what we've got that you don't like, you have a harder time shifting it to something different. Take your mind off of what it is and start thinking for more of the time. Imagine what you would like it to be. We need to imagine it into being, by the way, people. Do you know what your imagination even is? It is not manufactured, disconnected nonsense. It actually is vibrational downloads, inspiration that you are getting from your higher mind. Your higher mind is giving you these vibrational reads that help you imagine your way out of your problems. Imagine your way to the solutions. Because human beings aren't problem solvers, by the way. We are solution finders. And it's a subtle but important difference. And it has to do with what spirit you've got locked into the center of your aperture. Here's your aperture. What do you have locked in the center of your aperture? What are you focused on? What are you looking at? What is your attention on? Because whatever it is and whatever it feels like, that's the direction you're going. So, who am I and what are we going to do with this? How do I go about raising the consciousness of my fellow human beings so that we understand more clearly who we are? And so that we understand more clearly the meaning of our own emotional guidance system. So we do have an emotional guidance system. Here's the scale. This picture, the reason I kind of like this one is because if you are the one who created this, rest assured I did buy a physical copy of this, and I haven't put it in a frame yet, but I need to. I actually bought two, a small one and a bigger one, and I need to frame them and put them on the wall because I really do like them. I like how they illustrate momentum. Law of attraction, if you have heard of this law of attraction stuff, what does it mean? Law of attraction is talking about the way the energies of the universe move. And they're also talking about you, yourself, and your configuration. Your configuration of two minds, this nonsense here that we talk about, your source mind and your physical mind, all have to do with the concept of the law of attraction and momentum. Both of these minds are spinning disks of attraction that are expanding and have more energy coming to them all the time. They are spinning disks of attraction that are spinning into their orbit that which the cooperative components to their desires is kind of what they are spinning into their orbit of attraction. Now, the source mind aspect of you is attracting in a pure positive way, absolutely unobstructed, attached to the reality of all the molecules in all the physical field around you, where they are, where they have been, how they are moving forward. Your source mind is absolutely in touch with reality, with real reality in all the field around you, knows that it's all good, knows that it's expanding, knows that all is well. You couldn't convince your source mind of anything less because it is in touch with reality for all eternity, knows what it is. And attracting to its desires and purposes. And what is its desire? The win-win position of all beings. Because it's attracting from that position, from that pure positive position, from the point of every being. So that's, of course, its position, the win-win-win-win point, the one where we all make it. That's what Source wants, because that's fun. When we all make it in this gorgeous symphonic chorus of harmonic interaction, that's what life's all about. That's the fun of it. How clever can we be? How intricate can it get? How complex, how beautiful, how interactive and supportive and life-sustaining and gorgeous and colorful and beautiful. How magnificent can it get? That's what Source wants, because that's what's fun. And when you get into alignment with that same spirit of desire, of desiring beauty and desiring the win-win and desiring that we all get what we want and get what we need and that we all interact in this beautiful way. When you start getting into that vibration, then the whole world is your cooperative component, because everybody wants that. Let's see, 1 hour and 24. Okay, well, we're coming up close to the 1.5 hour mark. I think that is roughly the length of time that we've decided the show needs to be. It used to be 2 hours, and at some point, if anybody ever hires me to come and give a speech to a local club or whatever, answer questions, hour and a half speech is probably what it's going to be. So who am I? And who am I in reference to source energy, and what does all that mean? Now, as always, I'm going to post in the description of this video, and probably I should take a picture of this link right here. Take a screenshot. I'll do that. Maybe that'll be my contribution between today's show and tomorrow's show. Take a screenshot of the links, all the links as I describe them. It'll take me a lot less time to describe them. And I'll have them up and you'll see what they look like, and you'll go, oh, that's what that is. So there's a link to The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, that YouTube free version of that movie. Of course they would open source it and say, hey, everybody, check out this information. If we make a penny on this movie, great. If we don't, fine. This needs to get out. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. The Connected Universe. That's Nassim's movie that he did in 2016, narrated by Patrick Stewart. I put in a link to his latest paper, The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. I put in a link to the 37-minute YouTube video that describes that paper. Very dense. If any part of you understands any of this stuff, please dedicate your life to getting us off fossil fuels. Know that it absolutely is possible. Do it as, part of that which will benefit mankind. Don't think that you're going to go to the patent office and that they're going to grant you a patent and then you're going to make a fortune, on this patented way of producing energy. That's not what's going to happen. What you're going to do is you're going to free your people, and you're going to do it for spirit reasons, because your children and your grandchildren are going to live in a sustainable world because of it. That's why you should do it, What else is in there? I know there's a link to the article Butterfly Dreaming, Paul Levy's article. I like that. I like his work. He comes at it from the angle of, well, he's sort of a wounded healer, the wounded shaman. He sort of had a psychic break and has a particularly unique understanding of the human psyche because of it. He's a practicing Buddhist, and he at one time was the head of some Carl Jung archive of something. He's an expert in Jungian psychology too. And then he has this pet idea of his that he takes from Native Americans called Wetiko. And he describes Wetiko as basically, from my little show's perspective, Wetiko to him is a state of misalignment. It's our state of misalignment, not knowing who we are and not being connected to Source. Now, the Native Americans noticed that the white man was chronically in the Wetiko condition. And they would draw it. When they would draw people under the influence of Wetiko disease, it would be human beings whose heads were not attached to their bodies. They were disembodied heads. Their heads were not attached to their bodies. Not attached to reality, not attached to the rhythms of Source, of real life, of the rest of the field, the living field, the biofield, the morphogenetic field of humanity, the morphogenetic field of all of biology, of planet Gaia. Gaia being the living cloak upon this rocky planet. But the whole universe is alive. The whole universe is alive, and it is exchanging information in a very living, circulatory way. So what else do I have in my links? Let me go back and look, just so that I don't forget. Let's see. Maybe that's it. No, that isn't it. I put in the first episode of Quantum Revolution, which is Nassim Harameyn's 12-episode series over on Gaia. I see something else too. Oh, I put in, it's this little video about Whirling Dervishes. This guy, he talks about, dancing to get closer to God. And I thought it was really profound. My daughter shared it with me because she thought it was profound. Because I've been telling people for the longest time, I've been hammering this stuff in. I won't get off of this little core of information. And people are like, got it. But do they? My family's got it. But does the rest of the world? No, this is so important. And it's spin, it's nothing but spin. It's trying to organize us. Can you feel how spin is trying to organize us? And how, anyway. So she came across this and she could feel the significance. Oh yeah, it is spin, isn't it? And that's why the Whirling Dervishes do what they do, and why it makes them feel closer to God when they do it. Because it is spin. Spin is organizing us. And it's more than just spin. It's not soulless. It's, the soul of the universe is so connected. It is love. It is spin. Only the love is real, and we share a single point. This is kind of a pet thought of mine. That there is a point that all points have in common. The pull of the shared point. You go to this point that we all have in common, and you can touch where anyone else is. You don't have to go anywhere to have all the information of everything everywhere, because we all share one point. This point is, it's love, it's gravity, anyway. So I throw that in there too because it's a little bit of esoteric fluff and cosmic meaning and all that. So, did you see the video process? Oh, it's asking, never mind. I thought it's kind of giving me a survey, and I don't want to do that anymore. So let's go back to my video. I am past an hour and a half, so I really need to stop for the day. I have a special day in front of me because, like I said, it is my twin daughter's birthday today. The blessed day, 34 years ago. My God, what a monumental day that was. Holy cow. What an amazing and incredible series of events that set off. So if you are my one and only regular listener, I love you. I appreciate you. I really, really do appreciate you, because you're continuing to connect with what it is that I'm doing. I feel like it's really important to the reality of what I'm doing. Now, right now, admittedly, I am in research and development. I am developing my own sense of this, my own powerful sense of the reality of what it is that I say on this show, so that I live as though it's true, so that I think as though it's true. Intellectually, I understand it, I grasp it, I'm like, yeah, okay, but I want to live every moment of my life as though this material is true. Who am I? Who am I? I am a powerful creator. I am connected to the whole field. I am the formless coming into form. I can be anything I want. I do become anything I focus upon and think about. So I need to be a little more discerning in what I focus on and what I think about. I need to focus and think about what I want. What do I want? I want humanity sustainable on planet Earth. I want us to understand who we are, and I want us to live from our true nature, connected to the rest of reality in a very real way. I want to do that. So with that, I do believe I need to end my broadcast for the day. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see what kind of inspiration I have. I know that soon I should be having my guest, and we'll start having a real discussion. Right now, I've just been practicing the art of sitting in a room by myself and talking to myself about significant things for hours at a time without any input from anybody else. And you know, if you think that's easy, try it sometime, because it ain't that easy. But maybe I'll get a guest in my studio soon, and hopefully, if you are my regular fan, you will tune in for that as well. So, until tomorrow, I suppose, I bid you peace, and may the source be with you.